Welcome to Marking the End Times. Great to have you here with us today. We're going to be talking about something today that's been going on, but it's increasing, it's accelerating. And that is, I want to talk about these central bank digital currencies. What's going on now is being really called a digital power grab, as governments in this world are going to gain power economically over people's lives through these central bank digital currencies. We've talked about that in the past, but there's been some recent developments that I want to bring you up to date on. So we'll talk about that here in just a few moments. We're going to go into the subscriber-only section here in a bit, and I want to answer some questions, some really good questions. One is about these BRICS nations. You may have heard of that. Brazil and Russia, India, China, South Africa. Some other nations are being invited to join in with that. Is that related to the 10 horns mentioned in the book of Daniel, in Daniel chapter 7? Another question is about a lady sent in, and her father passed away and a couple of years ago, and wanting to know, will we have the same personality in heaven that we have now? Another question about babies who pass away before the age of accountability. Will they be part of the bride of Christ or the invited guests to the marriage supper in Revelation chapter 19, verse 9? Another question about why does God allow Satan access to heaven still, as we see there in the book of Job? And then finally, the question is, what do I think of the Apostles' Creed and the idea of Jesus descending into hell after his death? So those are some really good questions that we'll answer in the subscriber-only section. One other announcement I just want to give, or one other reminder, is our endtimes.com conference is coming up on September the 16th down in Dallas at Fellowship Church there. So you can come and join us in person. A great lineup of speakers there. I think you can join in live stream and be part of that. So join us for that. I think that's something that you'll greatly benefit from. We'd love to have you with us. And if you come there in person, it'd be great to meet many of you. I'd love the opportunity to do that. And I know Jimmy and the other speakers would as well. Well, I want to talk about this digital power grab that we see going on in the world today by the use of these central bank digital currencies. The Bible tells us that when the Antichrist comes on the scene, he's going to begin to gain more and more control. He's going to gain a foothold of global power. But at the midpoint of the tribulation, the Antichrist is going to rule over a global one-world economy. He's going to rule the world politically as well. But I think that the beginnings of his taking power will be to gain control first over the world economy, because it's a lot quicker and faster and easier to gain economic control with all the means that are available today than it is to gain military and political control. But once you have that economic control, then you can control people's lives and you can take them over politically and militarily as well. And the Antichrist, according to Revelation chapter 13, the whole deal of the mark of the beast, the whole passage about that, tells us that the Antichrist will have iron-fisted control over all buying and selling. And Bible prophecy teachers for decades have said that's going to require a cashless society. But what we see now today developing in our world is a cashless society, really on steroids. Just here recently, there's a new entity that's been created called FedNow, the FedNow service. And the FedNow service is a portal that's been created by the Federal Reserve, which permits financial institutions to exchange funds digitally in real time. Now, this is very significant, I believe. Let me read you right off of this is from the government website about FedNow. It says the Federal Reserve on Thursday, this is back in early July, announced that its new system for instant payments, the FedNow service, is now live. Banks and credit unions of all sizes can sign up and use this tool to instantly transfer money for their customers any time of the day, any time of the year. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell says over time, as more banks choose to use this new tool, the benefits to individuals and businesses will include enabling a person to immediately receive a paycheck or a company to instantly access funds when an invoice is paid. And it says to start, 35 early adopting banks and credit unions, as well as the U.S. Department of Treasury's Bureau of Fiscal Service, are ready with instant payment capabilities via this FedNow service. In addition, 16 service providers are ready to support payment processing for banks and credit unions. So FedNow is here. Now, in a publication called CoinDesk, they have an article that they just had come out this week that says Federal Reserve's FedNow launch triggers fresh speculation over the digital dollar. And the subheading says, while FedNow is currently not tied to any initiative for the digital US dollar or the crypto space in general, experts warn the system might end up as a precursor to the infrastructure for a central bank digital currency. So immediately the creators of FedNow said this isn't related to central bank digital currency because they know people are going to immediately believe that that's what it is. But many experts are warning that's exactly what it is, that it's a precursor to the infrastructure for a central bank digital currency. Now, in this article in CoinDesk, the author goes on and says, the U.S. Federal Reserve denies its new instant payment service is in any way tied to the digital asset space. But experts say the new system could lay the groundwork for the infrastructure needed for a potential central bank digital currency. So this is going to make transactions basically immediate. Now, it says in the article as well, FedNow project adopts a key goal of the digital asset industry moving money around easily and quickly at any time of the day or the week, even if banks are closed. It'll operate 24 hours a day. This is a payment system, not a digital token or a central bank digital currency, some people are saying. But it's something that can be used to facilitate the creation of a central bank digital currency. So it's not that now, but can easily be used to facilitate that. And again, this is going to be something that will be prone to all kinds of surveillance by authorities. Now, they claim it's not, that it's going to be very secure, but we all know how that ends up working out often. Dave Weisberger, CEO and co-founder of CoinRoutes, said this: if FedNow does indeed become a programmable central bank digital currency, it could theoretically be used to block payments for items the government doesn't favor, or cut out people from the financial system who are seen as threatening in some way to governing authorities, aka political opponents. He says this: in that situation, things could get dystopian very quickly. And of course, dystopian, we know from Scripture, is the rule and the reign of the global empire and the global economic system of the coming Antichrist. Officials at the Fed have been studying the potential for a government-issued digital currency for some time now. Back on March the 9th of 2022, President Biden signed an executive order that put into motion the machinery and the mechanism to develop a central bank digital currency. But in preparation for the G20 summit, earlier in the week, the Bank of International Settlement published a report laying out central banks' efforts to prepare for a central bank digital currency and all the benefits of that. So this is moving forward really dramatically. And I think this FedNow, it's just the infrastructure, it's the platform that can easily be used then when a central bank digital currency is brought online. Now, at the same time FedNow is happening, this last week, the World Economic Forum published principles of central bank digital currency interoperability. They did that on June the 29th. There's a digital currency global initiative. In a recent World Economic Forum event, at one of these events, an economist named Eswar Prasad bragged about how central bank digital currencies could be used to limit your purchases of whatever bureaucrats happen not to like. So that's where this is headed, and they're really not even hiding this. 100 nations now are exploring central bank digital currencies. 12 central banks now have pilot programs for this. The EU has a digital euro at this point in time. And again, the problem with this is, to highlight what we've said before, is this is programmable, it's traceable, it's trackable, it's expirable, it's controllable by the government. If a person goes to get gas at the gas station, they have their credit card, and they have this central bank digital currency, and they've determined how much money you can spend on gasoline. You go there and try to put gas in your car, and it tells you that it's expired. You don't have any more money there to spend on gas. That's how they'll control this whole environmental agenda that we see taking place. There's a pilot program in India for central bank digital currencies. An article this week said the India Central Bank plans to widen use of digital currency. The Reserve Bank of India, the central bank, has set a goal of 1 million digital transactions by the end of this year. China is doubling down on central bank digital currencies. They want to control their population even more. It's called the EU yuan, or the yuan, their currency. There's basically a revolution for retail payments now in Russia. They're saying, or in China. They're saying that all retail spaces now have to accept digital currencies. If customers want to pay with the EU yuan, it has to be accepted. And there's the wider goal there of a total elimination of all physical forms of currency. The Chinese central bank chief said this just recently. In the future, commercial electronic payment tools may fully meet the needs of the digital economy and society and completely replace cash. So that's the goal. The trend toward a cashless society, they say, is inexorable. And we see all these things happening on these different fronts, and this FedNow, I think, is just providing the infrastructure for that. It's interesting to me when they came out with this, they immediately said this is not a central bank digital currency, because they know that's what people are going to immediately think. But as many of these experts have said, it is the infrastructure for that. So it's happening in India, it's happening in China, the EU has a digital euro, it's happening on all these different fronts. And all of this is a striking foreshadow of what we read in Revelation 13. To me, it's just another flashing light that the coming of Christ is near. And it's also a very powerful confirmation and validation of the truth of the Bible. Think when John wrote those words that no one can buy or sell in the world without the mark of the beast. 2,000 years ago, that was impossible. It was even impossible, 50 or 100 years ago. But with the technology we see today, it's possible. John wrote that 2,000 years ago. And it's just another validation of the inspiration of God's word and how trustworthy it is, and how we can believe it and trust in it for all these prophecies that are yet unfulfilled. We're going to go now into the subscriber only section. And if you're not a subscriber, you can become a subscriber by going to endtimes.com for just $7 a month. And you can become a subscriber and have access to all kinds of great information. But again, we're going to answer some question about BRICS, these BRICS nations and the 10 horns in Daniel 7. Will we still have our same personality when we're in heaven? What about babies who haven't reached the age of accountability? Will they be part of the bride of Christ? Why does God still allow Satan to have access to heaven? And what about the Apostles' Creed, and especially the statement in the Apostles' Creed that Jesus descended into hell after his death? So some great questions I'm looking forward to answering.